7 Rules for Mental Mastery by TRACY. Today, there is more actionable knowledge available than ever before about how to succeed in every field. At the conclusion of their working life, only 5% of people are financially independent. Approximately 80% of those who are employed today would prefer to be doing something different. And according to their own admission, 84% of them believe that their performance is below, if not significantly below, their potential. Only 5% of people believe they are working at their maximum potential. More people than ever before are ill, overweight, unfit, and unhealthy. The expense of healthcare is rising, and the United States is the only country that spends more of its GNP on it. We now understand that a great deal of disease and illness are brought on by unhappy feelings of all kinds and negative mental attitudes. With their own thoughts, people actively harm their relationships and make themselves sick. The U.S. is a free country. The individual is free to make any decision. People have the freedom to do anything, be anything, go anywhere, and improve any aspect of their lives whenever they choose. When people have the freedom to think anything they want, why do so many of them continue to be negative and pessimistic? Why are so few people achieving their full potential? The question, it never occurred to me growing up that you had to study something in depth and practice it consistently if you wanted to be successful at it. I believe that events are simply random. If you are in the right location at the right time, health, happiness, serenity, prosperity, and success just happen in the path of human destiny. Living with this conviction, as the vast majority of people do, subjects one to the law of accident. The guiding concept for the majority of people is this law, which becomes a law to the extent that it is accepted by default. The simplest interpretation of this quote is that neglecting to plan is intending to fail. You must study and practice medicine if you want to become a doctor. You learn to cook by employing tried and true recipes and cookbooks if you want to become a proficient cook. You should study the happiest and most successful people you can find in order to live a life filled with joy, contentment, and self-fulfillment. Then, copy their methods until you experience the same outcomes in your own life. I found this to be a wonderful thought. It seemed to be so easy. It couldn't be that simple, surely. Naturally, it isn't. Nothing that's truly worthwhile is simple. It is a false assumption that if something is right, it should be simple, like being in a relationship. If you have to put in a lot of effort, the common response is that there is probably a problem. Happiness cannot survive this way of thinking. I came up with 3 fundamental operating concepts that have greatly aided me in my pursuit of the good life's holy grail. First, life is difficult. It is what it has always been and always will be. For you, me, or anyone else, it has never been any different. The good news is that if you accept this fundamental reality, life in some way becomes easier since you don't experience as much frustration and injustice. Second, you are responsible for everything you are and will ever be, because you made that decision. You are where you are right now. You always have the freedom to decide what you do or don't do, and your life right now is the result of all of your decisions, good and bad. You must make wiser decisions if you want your future to be different. The third, and maybe most significant, is that you can learn anything you need to know in order to change into anybody you want to change into and do anything you want to accomplish. There aren't many restrictions, and the majority of them are internal rather than external. Pain appears to be the origin of learning if necessity is the mother of invention. Before we are willing to consider new concepts and methods of operation, we appear to require the prodding of irritation and suffering. This was undoubtedly the case for me in my early 20s. You must both learn and unlearn some things in order to advance. At your present level of expertise and understanding, you are stuck. With what you've learned so far, you cannot proceed. What you study and do from now on will determine a lot of your future. Based on the aforementioned concepts, I started researching happiness, success, and achievement. They served as the cornerstone on which I erected the system's superstructure, which I will explain to you as we go. Similar to how a magnificent building is built up piece by piece until it is complete in all its magnificence. Each section of this book complements the others. You will discover how to create a masterpiece of a life thought by thought and action by action. Through your efforts, you will discover how to produce something truly lovely. You'll discover how to masterfully control your future. You'll discover how to accomplish more than you ever thought was possible. Just don't anticipate it being simple. Stone by stone, when I first started studying the psychology and science of human performance, I utilized my own life and circumstances to determine whether or not certain things were real. You must follow suit. Pay attention to the inner voice. No matter what else you may have learned or decided to believe, just ask yourself, is this true for me? Superior men and women have a deep sense of self-belief, as you'll learn more about in Chapter 6. They are very aware of whether anything seems correct or wrong. You ought to act similarly. Everything in this book ought to feel wonderful to you. But if it doesn't, set it aside for the time being and return to it when it does. Do what you can, with what you have, precisely where you are, as Theodore Roosevelt famously stated. I took that action. I dove in when I started wondering why certain people were more successful than others. Despite my dismal academic performance, I had a voracious reading habit and wasn't intimidated by a challenge. I was studying to make up for lost time while those around me were dating and dancing. One thing I discovered was that we would all be wealthy and content if all it took to have a beautiful life was books and ideas. Today, there are more and better books, CDs, movies, and courses available than at any other time in human history on how to succeed in every aspect of life. And I've never encountered a book, film, or piece of music that didn't have something worthwhile to say. However, having them all at once is insufficient. You must have a system in place. You are like to someone trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle without a picture if you don't have a system you can use to integrate the concepts you learn. Additionally, practically any system is preferable to none at all. However, you must have the discipline to stick with the program until you see the desired results. Without learning everything they could from others who had gone before and shown that they were experts in that field, no one would ever truly attempt to master any complex subject. In the fields of law, medicine, engineering, and business, this is true. The same holds true for peace of mind, happiness, health, and financial success. You can learn and work hard to achieve just about whatever you may possibly desire to be, have, or do. However, you must have a system in place and follow it. Basic principles of operation. The biggest cause of underachievement and frustration is that people do not know how to maximize their own potential. They are unable to apply themselves to their fullest potential for success and fulfillment. They waste countless hours, sometimes even years, working well below their capabilities because they are unaware of their fundamental operating principles. Imagine, for instance, if you received a pricey, cutting-edge personal computer. It was brought to your house, and when you took all the components out of the boxes, you discovered that the instruction manual was the only thing that was missing. Imagine for a moment that you are completely untrained in computer science or programming. Now picture yourself having to learn how the computer operated, how to set it up, how to use it, how to program it, and how to get it to create something useful. Based on this, how long do you think it would take you to learn how to use a personal computer on your own, without any assistance or training? The truth is that learning how to use a computer alone would probably take you years, even if you were extremely ambitious and persistent. And it's a given that long before that, you would have started thinking about something else and returned to working slowly and in the same manner. Instead, let's say you got the same computer this time. But it also came with a user-friendly instruction manual and a visit from a computer expert who walked you through every step of setting it up, using it, programming it, and running it at its best performance. You could set up the computer in an afternoon with the help of the instruction manual and professional instruction. As time went on, you would become increasingly adept at utilizing it, and both the caliber and volume of what you created would rise quickly. The key idea here is that you enter this planet without an instruction manual. You are born with a remarkable brain, whose complexity and potential are so immense that we are still unable to fully understand them. This amazing organ of yours weighs 3 pounds, has up to 100 billion cells, and can process 100 million pieces of information per hour. Through your autonomic nervous system, it keeps the billions of cells in your body perfectly chemically balanced. If you know how to use it, your amazing brain can take you from poverty to wealth, from obscurity to fame, from sickness to radiant health, and from depression to happiness and joy. You might think of this book as a whole as a how-to guide for getting the most out of yourself. It will teach you how to use your mind's incredible power to manifest anything you truly desire in life. Your three-dimensional brain. The central processing unit of a sizable computer network is analogous to your mind. Multiple operators, or sources, can access, affect, and program it. All inputs have an impact on and influence other data. Every piece of information that comes in can immediately affect the data that each user is processing. Whether accurate or untrue, new information has the ability to immediately change how things are done in every other sector. Your central processing unit is your subconscious mind. Your primary responsibility in reaching any objective is to rewire this unit such that your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are the mental counterpart of the experiences and pleasures you wish to have. Your subconscious has both internal and exterior entry points. Your thoughts, your mental images or imagination, and your feelings all have an impact on you internally. Your suggestive environment and anything else that comes into conscious awareness affect you outside. What you do, say, hear, see, read, watch, listen to, especially the people you associate with and the discussions you engage in, all have an impact on you. Each of these variables has the potential to initiate or stimulate one or more of the others. Together, they have shaped who you are now in every part of your life, and they continue to do so. For whatever reason, when you have a thought, it frequently prompts another or even a stream of consciousness that leads you far from the initial concept. Depending on how much mental control you choose to exercise, your mind rushes forward like a torrent, propelling you either toward your objectives or away from them. Your thoughts cause you to have images or images that are consistent with those images, and these images can move from one to another, away from the original concept, or back toward it. Emotions of all types are sparked by thoughts or images. Your sensations set off thoughts and images, which in turn set off more feelings, and so on. Your words and actions are influenced by the ideas you have, the pictures you visualize, and the emotions you feel. As you go about your day, you will speak positively and behave effectively if you are thinking about your goals, if you can picture your goals as already being achieved, and if this concept makes you feel upbeat and enthusiastic. Your reading can have an impact on your words, actions, and ideas, which in turn can have an impact on what you read next. Your speech, movement, talk, and behavior will be influenced by the people around you and the discussions you have. The people you become will be influenced by the tapes you listen to in the car, the television shows you watch, the seminars you go to, and the activities you do every day. These influences will then multiply, lessen, increase, and change other influences and other stored knowledge. Your prior experiences and reinforcement history, whether positive or negative, color your attitudes and perceptions about everything that happens to you and around you in addition to all of the other elements listed above. It is a little convoluted, if that makes sense. Your life and your thoughts are like a room full of musicians all attempting to gain your attention by playing various instruments and tunes. Is it surprising that the vast majority of people feel they have no control over their lives in the midst of all this confusion? Is it surprising that most individuals would like to be somewhere else, doing something else, and frequently doing that something else with someone else? Is it any surprise that the majority of individuals believe they could be doing a lot better than they are but feel powerless to change things? The greatest opportunity and challenge of your life are present in this circumstance. In order to take charge of your life and your future, your main task is to take charge of your own symphony. You must exert control over both the internal and external facets of your existence and get them to revolve around a primary idea of your choosing. Your goal should be to make your life a fantastic performance by making beautiful music with it. Understanding various laws. You may already be aware that the universe is governed by both natural and man-made laws. You may not be caught breaking rules that have been created by humans, such as traffic regulations. But whenever you try to break one of nature's laws, you always end up getting caught. Physical laws and mental laws are the two categories into which natural laws fall. In controlled experiments and useful activities, the functioning of physical laws, such as those governing electricity or mechanics, can be demonstrated, but you can only demonstrate mental rules through personal experience, intuition, and observation of how they operate in your own life. Some of the first known mental laws date back to around 2000 BC, or 4,000 years ago. These laws or principles were taught at what were known as mystery schools in the ancient world. Students would enroll in these institutions and go through extensive training that would last for several years, during which they would be gradually taught to these ideas, one at a time. Such principles were never intended to be made available to the general public back then. These ancient schools' leaders believed that the common person would misinterpret and abuse these regulations, and at the time, they were probably right. Even though the majority of these regulations are now widely debated and written about, very few people are even aware of them. I discovered that practically all successful men and women employed these laws, whether consciously or unconsciously, and as a result they frequently achieved more in 2 or 3 years than the typical person does in a lifetime. In actuality, arranging your life is the key to all long-lasting success. Here's something crucial. In the same way that physical laws are always in effect, mental laws do the same. For instance, the law of gravity is constant throughout the entire planet Earth and operates 24 hours a day. You will land on the sidewalk with the same force whether you jump from a 10-story building in downtown New York or downtown Tokyo. Whether you are aware of gravity, if you believe in gravity, or whether someone ever explained gravity to you as a child is irrelevant. Law is impartial. Whether you are aware of it or whether it is particularly handy for you at that time, it always works for you. Even though their physical impacts are more difficult to detect, mental laws always function. When things are going smoothly in your life, it usually implies that your actions and ideas are in accordance with these underlying mental principles. Whether you are aware of these laws or not, whenever you are having issues of any type, it is nearly always because you are breaking one or more of them. You must become familiar with them and incorporate them into all you do, since they are crucial to your happiness. The law of control. First, according to the law of control, you feel good about yourself to the extent that you believe you are in charge of your life, and you feel bad about yourself to the extent that you believe you are being controlled by an outside force, person, or influence. It is commonly accepted in psychology that this law or principle exists. The theory is referred to as locus of control. Most stress, worry, tension, and psychosomatic illnesses, it is commonly accepted, are caused by a person feeling out of control or powerless over some significant aspect of his life. You will experience stress, for instance, if you believe that your bills, boss, health, bad relationship, or the actions of others are controlling your life. Irritation, wrath, and resentment are the results of this stress. If left untreated, it may lead to numerous illnesses, such as depression or sleeplessness. An external or internal locus of control is an option. To put it another way, you might feel like you are in control of your life, joyful, confident, and optimistic, or you can feel like you are being controlled by others, powerless, trapped, and very much like a victim. Your thoughts, the single thing over which you do have complete power, are where control over your life begins in every situation. Any situation's thoughts have an impact on feelings, and feelings have an impact on conduct. The first step toward developing self-control, self-discipline, and self-mastery is to take charge of your thoughts. Nobody or anything can make you feel anything. It's only your perspective on a circumstance that determines how you feel, and you have control over your thoughts. No one can make you feel inadequate without your cooperation. As Eleanor Roosevelt once stated, there are essentially two methods to take charge of any circumstance that is making you anxious or unhappy. You can start by acting. You can proceed and take action to change it. You can take charge of the circumstance and change it in some way. And second, you can just leave. By letting go of a person or circumstance and getting busy with anything else, you may frequently restore control. When you feel out of control in a situation, sometimes the best course of action is to simply leave. If you've ever ended a bad relationship or left a bad job, you'll recall how much better you felt once the struggle was over. You took the decision not to fight any longer. The rule of control explains why making decisions quickly is so crucial for you. It illustrates why having a clear idea of what you want is crucial. A person with a clear purpose and a strategy always has an advantage over someone who is ambiguous or uncertain because of the self-confidence that comes with feeling in charge. Make a mental checklist of your life's numerous aspects and decide where you feel confident and in charge and where you don't. Then start formulating specific actions you could do to regain control over the aspects of your life that are stressing you out. Consider the circumstances you might be better off avoiding as well. One of your main duties is to take charge of your life and keep it that way. You can build on this sense of control in the future to achieve greater happiness and success. Make sure it is firmly anchored. 2. Cause and effect law. According to the law of cause and effect, there is a particular cause for each effect in your life. The iron law of the universe has been referred to because of how significant it is. It asserts that whether or not you are aware of it, everything occurs for a reason. There aren't any mishaps. Every other law or principle is predicated on the idea that we live in a world that is rigidly governed by law. According to the law of cause and effect, there are certain factors for both success and failure. Both health and disease have particular reasons. Both happiness and unhappiness have particular reasons. The only way to increase an effect in your life is to identify its root reasons and keep repeating them. You must identify the causes of any effects in your life that you do not like and eliminate them if there are any. This law is so basic that most people find it confusing. They continue to do or refrain from doing things that are making them unhappy and frustrated, and then they start blaming other people. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. To a certain extent, where we are all accountable for this, we must deal with this propensity head-on and with its sincerity. According to a Scottish adage, it's preferable to light one than to despise the darkness. A tiny candle sitting is vastly preferable. Instead of being frustrated and furious about your problems, take some time to sit down and thoroughly consider their causes. What a man sows, he will likewise reap, according to the book of Proverbs. The law of sowing and reaping is another name for this variation of the law of cause and effect. It asserts that you will harvest what you sow. It also asserts that whatever you are currently harvesting is a direct result of your previous sowing. You must sow different seeds now if you want to reap a different harvest in any aspect of your life in the future, and this mostly pertains to mental seeds, of course. The adage thoughts are causes and situations are effects is the most significant example of the law of cause and effect, often known as sowing and reaping. Your life's circumstances are primarily caused by your thinking. Everything that has happened to you so far has started with an idea, whether it was yours or someone else's. Your thoughts will determine everything you are or will ever be. Your life will improve if you modify the caliber of your thoughts. Your inner experience will change first, and then your outer experience will alter. You'll get back what you put in. You're already doing it. The appeal of this unchangeable law is that it gives you complete power over your thoughts, emotions, and outcomes when you embrace it. You align yourself with the law of control by using the law of cause and effect. You immediately feel more positive and content with yourself. This fundamental law can be used to explain every facet of company success or failure. You get the intended results if you sow the appropriate causes. You will be successful in selling your goods and services if you create high-quality goods and services that consumers need, want, and are willing to pay for. Otherwise, you won't. You'll be successful and content in your profession if you produce high-quality work and the outcomes your organization needs to expand and develop. People will treat you well if you treat them nicely. You always receive out of life what you put into it, and you are in charge of what you put into it. The law of belief is 3. According to the law of belief, your reality is what you believe with feeling. It is more likely for something to be true for you if you believe it to be true with greater fervor. If you truly believe something, it is impossible to think it could be otherwise. You have a kind of tunnel vision because of your beliefs. They remove information that conflicts with what you have made up your mind to think or make you ignore it. Harvard professor William James once observed, "Belief generates the actual fact. According to your faith, it is done to you," the Bible states. To put it another way, you see what you believe even if you don't always believe what you see. For instance, if you firmly feel that you were intended to achieve tremendous success in life, you will keep working toward your objectives no matter what. Nothing can hold you back. On the other hand, if you think success comes down to chance or accident, you'll be more likely to get disheartened and dissatisfied when things don't go your way. You are set up for success or failure based on your beliefs. Most people view the world from one of 2 perspectives. The initial one is referred to as a beneficent worldview. A benign worldview holds that most of the time, the world is a pretty good place to live in. You have a propensity to perceive the positive in people and circumstances and to think that there are many opportunities nearby that you can seize. Even if you don't think you're flawless, you think you're a generally decent person. You have faith in the future, both for you and for others. You tend to be hopeful. A benevolent worldview is the second way to view the universe. A person with a malicious worldview often has a depressing and pessimistic outlook on life and on themselves. He or she typically holds the viewpoints that you can't battle City Hall, the rich grow richer and the poor get poor, and the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and that no matter how hard you try, you can never succeed since the odds are always stacked against you. This person perceives oppression, unfairness, and bad luck everywhere. They typically attribute things that go wrong for them on poor luck or unfavorable characters. They experience victimhood. They don't actually like or respect themselves very much as a result of this mindset. It goes without saying that those who have optimistic beliefs are more likely to be the change makers, the architects, and the innovators of the future. They typically have an optimistic outlook on life, are upbeat, and think the world is a wonderful place to live. They have positive mental attitudes that allow them to react constructively and positively to life's inevitable ups and downs. The creation and maintenance of this benign or optimistic worldview is a crucial component of your path to success. Your self-limiting beliefs contain some of the largest mental obstacles you will ever have to face. These are the beliefs you hold that in some way restrict you. They prevent you from ever attempting, which holds you back. They frequently lead you to believe things that are plainly false. Because you received average or mediocre grades in school, you could believe that you have a restricted capacity for intelligence. You might think that your capacity for creativity or your memory and learning skills are constrained. Maybe you don't think of yourself as being very extroverted or financially astute. Some people believe they are incapable of quitting smoking, losing weight, or being alluring to people of the opposite sex. Whatever your conviction, it will become your reality if you hold it with enough vigor. You perform in a way that is consistent with your values through how you move, talk, behave, and engage with others. If you believe anything, even if it is completely false, it will be true for you. Because I didn't finish high school, I held myself back and sold myself short for years, as many people do. I had awe and admiration for those who had graduated from college. Unconsciously, I thought my future was a finite one. This belief led me to just set modest objectives for myself, and I didn't take it personally if I didn't meet them. I mean, I didn't do well in school, so what did you expect? I once came across a true account of a teenager from a tiny town who received all A's in his high school diploma. He subsequently made an admissions application to the public institution. He had to take the Scholastic Aptitude Test as part of the admissions process, just like any other student applying to a university in the country. He received a letter from the admissions office a few weeks later informing him that his test score was in the 99th percentile, and that he had been accepted for the autumn semester. Although he was grateful to be accepted, there was a dilemma. He was ignorant about percentiles and believed in error that his IQ score was in the 99th percentile. He was aware that the average IQ is 100 and believed that due to his limited intelligence, he would never be able to perform university-level work. He failed or came close to failing every course for the entire fall semester. His counselor finally summoned him in and inquired as to why he was performing so poorly. "Well, you can't hold me responsible," he said. "I only have a 99 IQ score." The student's file was in front of the counselor. He questioned, "Why do you say that?" He responded, "That's what my letter of acceptance to the institution stated." The counselor clarified the distinction between an IQ and a percentile after realizing what had transpired. If you received a score in the 99th percentile, that signifies that you outperformed 99% of all American students who took the test. One of the smartest students on this school is you." The young man changed into a different person after realizing his mistake and altering his perception of his intelligence. He returned to his classes and started working with a fresh sense of assurance and ability. He was on the honor roll before the end of the semester, and he finally graduated among the top 10 students in his class, like it did for me. This tale contains a priceless lesson for you. We too readily acknowledge our limitations. We then disregard or reject any evidence that conflicts with our presumption of truth. A young boy was asked by a teacher, "Can you play an instrument?" "I'm not sure," he said. "I haven't yet tried." You resemble that young boy in several ways. You are equally unaware of your own capabilities. Be careful not to undersell yourself. Refuse to believe that your potential is limited. Most likely, you are capable of much more than you ever were. The majority of your self-limiting ideas are wholly untrue. They are founded on unfavorable information that you have heard and received as gospel. As soon as you believe something to be true, it becomes true in your eyes. If you believe that you can do a thing, or if you believe that you cannot, in either case, you are right, as Henry Ford once said. You will discover how to create a solid, self-assured belief system that is entirely aligned with the goals you have for your life. You should start identifying any self-limiting thoughts that might be preventing you from moving forward in the meanwhile. Self-limiting thoughts and beliefs that you are unaware of can frequently be recognized and identified by your spouse or a trusted friend. Keep in mind that they cause just as much harm whether you are aware of them or not. The expectation law is number 4. According to the law of expectations, your expectations will come true if you have confidence in them. Or to put it another way, you receive what you expect in life, not necessarily what you desire. Your expectations have a strong, undetectable influence on how other people behave and how events turn out. By talking about how you believe things will turn out in your life, you are essentially functioning as a fortune teller all the time. Successful people have a confident, upbeat attitude toward themselves. Both success and popularity are expectations for them. They rarely experience disappointment since they anticipate happiness. People that are unsuccessful tend to have a negative outlook, are cynical, and are pessimistic, which somehow makes things turn out the way they predicted. Dr. Robert Rosenthal of Harvard University shows how teachers' expectations have a significant impact on their students' performance in his book Pygmalion in the Classroom. Additionally, he discovered that when students believed they were expected to perform well, they outperformed what they would have otherwise accomplished. 3 teachers were summoned into the principal's office at the start of a school year in Dr. Rosenthal's well-known experiment, which he carried out in the San Francisco Bay Area in the late 1960s. In essence, the principal informed them, "We have been watching you. The 3 of you are the top teachers in this school, according to our analysis of teaching methods. We are going to give you each classroom of the smartest students in this school as a special incentive for excellent teaching." These kids were chosen based on recent IQ tests, and we anticipate that over the course of the next year, their academic performance will increase by 20 to 30%. But we ask that you keep this private so that we won't be charged with prejudice. You are not to inform the pupils that they have been specifically chosen for this advanced class, and neither will we inform the parents. The educators were overjoyed. The ideal situation for a teacher is to have a classroom filled with talented students. With renewed vigor, they returned to their classes. The courses were watched over and the professors were observed during the full academic year. The instructors appeared more committed to their lessons. They appeared to be more understanding of pupils who took a little longer to grasp a new concept. They tutored youngsters longer after school. When a student had trouble understanding something, the teacher assumed that the lesson itself was the issue rather than the student. At the end of the school year, the 3 classrooms had the highest exam scores across the whole school system. They had improved their academic performance during the previous year by 20 to 30%, as was expected. The principal gathered the instructors back into his office and sat them down after the test results were known. He commended them for having such a great year working with their students. The principal received praise from all of the teachers for providing them with such a large number of talented students to teach. They claimed that having such wonderful pupils made teaching easy and that they had never had more fun teaching than they had that year. The teacher then revealed to them that everything had been an experiment. The students were by no means extraordinary. Their names were drawn at random from the entire student body of the school. They had been placed in the 3 teachers' classrooms at random. They were actually simply ordinary students. Naturally, the teachers were taken aback. How was it possible for the pupils to perform so well, as was expected? Then they realized that the cause was their superior performance. Teachers, their abilities as educators were what produced the outcomes. The principal went on to explain that they had likewise been selected at random. They were the first 3 chosen from a hat from which all of the school's instructors' names had been placed at the start of the academic year. This experiment is an example of a double-blind study. With the exception of expectations, the experimenters kept everything consistent. The principal's expectations for the instructors were transparent and clear. "We expect you to generate outstanding outcomes from these classrooms of superior pupils," he remarked. "You are an excellent instructor." The teacher's expectations for the students were implicit and unstated. They simply assumed the kids were very smart and expected them to act in a way that made sense given the knowledge they had been given. The expectations in both situations were founded on erroneous information. However, in both instances, the expectations became self-fulfilling prophecies since they were generated by a credible source. This has major significance. Your respect for the reliability of the source will directly influence your expectations. Your expectations of yourself will be more influenced by another person the more you look up to them. The teachers did an outstanding job of teaching, and the kids learned more quickly than they ever had. Under the guidance of a teacher with high expectations, one of the experiment's participants increased his or her IQ by 25 points, from 90 to 115 on a test, in just 1 year. It has been proven in experiment after experiment that when teachers set high expectations for their students, the latter labor assiduously to meet those standards. By encouraging their children's teachers to start treating them as though they were unusually clever, many parents who have attended our seminars have completely changed the academic life of their kids. They have discovered that the teachers have generally been more than happy to support this notion. The same action was then taken by the parents at home. The outcomes are astounding. In as little as 2 months, kids who were receiving CS and DS moved up to As and BS. Children who didn't want to go to school or were bored did so because they were performing so poorly. But now, thanks to the impact of their parents and instructors, who firmly and enthusiastically anticipated them to succeed, they are happy and enthused about learning. Expectations come in 4 forms. Your life is impacted by expectations from 4 different sources. The first is what your parents expect of you. We are all unconsciously taught to strive to meet or fall short of the expectations that our parents had for us as children. Even when our parents pass away, we continue to feel the need for their approval. Your personality has undoubtedly been greatly influenced by your parents' expectations of you to succeed and their confident, supportive encouragement to put out your best effort. You might unknowingly feel pressure to avoid disappointing your parents even if, as is frequently the case, they had no expectations of you at all or only negative ones. In one study, 90% of inmates who were psychologically questioned by researchers said their parents had often informed them as children, "Someday, you're going to end up in jail." The expectations your supervisor has of your performance are the second source of expectations that have an impact on your conduct. People who work for positive bosses consistently perform better, are happier, and accomplish more than those who work for negative or critical employers. It's unlikely that you will ever be happy or successful working for or with individuals with bad attitudes and behavior since you are disproportionately influenced by the expectations of the people you depend on for your income. The expectations you have for your spouse, kids, and employees or staff make up the third source. You have a significant influence on the character, conduct, and performance of those who look to you for direction and criticism. Your expectations will have a greater impact on someone else's performance the more significant you are in their lives. To confidently and continuously anticipate the best from others may be the most consistent, predictable, and effective motivating behavior you can use. People will always make an effort to not let you down. "You're the best in the West. You're the best little boy in the entire globe," I always tell my kids. I reassure them of my affection and my belief that they are excellent kids who will go on to lead fulfilling lives. Does this affect the way they are as people? Better believe it than not. To find out, give it a try. Many people who have achieved success credit a significant portion of their achievement to the guidance of someone they respected who consistently voiced faith in their ability to be more than they were. Perhaps the most considerate thing you can do for someone else is to say, "I have faith in you. You are capable, I am sure." Your expectations of yourself are the fourth factor. You can create your own expectations, which is a fantastic thing about them. You can develop your own mindset and approach the world in a confident manner while always expecting the best from yourself. Your expectations of yourself have the capacity to overcome any unfavorable assumptions that others may have about you. By firmly anticipating to gain something from every scenario, you can erect a force field of good mental energy around yourself. The multimillionaire W. Clement Stone is renowned for being inverse paranoid. Someone like this thinks the universe is working in his favor. An inverse paranoid believes that every circumstance has been brought to him from above to either benefit him or teach him an important lesson that will help him succeed. Positive mental attitudes are built on this type of inverse paranoia. This is the trait of a high achiever that is the easiest to spot. I was told by one of our seminar graduates, who at the time was jobless, that he started telling himself every morning, "I feel something fantastic is going to happen to me today." He kept doing this until he had an anticipating mindset that made him eagerly anticipate every activity of the day. The amazing thing was that he started to experience a string of beautiful experiences. He had been jobless for 6 months, but within the first week of starting this program, he had received 2 job offers. His legal and financial issues appeared to mysteriously resolve themselves. At every turn, wonderful things started to happen to him. Imagine if you spent the entire day under the impression that something fantastic was about to occur to you. Consider how much more upbeat, optimistic, and joyful you would be if you truly believed that everything was working for your happiness and success. I guarantee that if you try this exercise for only 3 days, by the end of the 3rd day, you will have experienced so many great things that you won't be able to remember them all. You can never achieve more than what you set for yourself. Make sure your expectations are in line with what you want to happen because they are entirely within your control. Always strive to be your best self. When you begin using this mental law intentionally, your capacity for good will be almost limitless. Positive expectations alone have the ability to completely alter your personality and your way of life. 5. Attraction's Law. This law has been the subject of numerous publications, and many believe that understanding it is essential to comprehending human nature. According to the law of attraction, you are a living magnet. You invariably draw people and circumstances into your life that are in line with your predominant thinking. Like pulls like, birds of a feather gather in flocks. Because of who you are as a person and, more specifically, because of your thoughts, you have drawn everything into your life. Your regular ways of thinking about each one of these things have drawn you to your friends, family, relationships, job, issues, and chances. The concept of sympathetic resonance provides a musical example of this. In a room with 2 pianos, if you play the note C on one piano and move to the second piano across the room, you will see that the other piano's C string is vibrating at the same tempo as the first piano's C string. By the same logic, you will frequently run into and get engaged with individuals and circumstances that resonate with your own primary beliefs and feelings. You will notice that your entire universe is something you created when you look about at every area of your existence, both good and bad. Additionally, the more emotion you give an idea, the higher its rate of vibration will be, and the quicker you'll draw into your life people and circumstances that are in line with it. This law is in effect everywhere around you. Just then, the phone rings, and it's your friend you were thinking of. When you make a decision, you instantly begin to receive advice and support. You start to attract iron filings like a magnet. Because they are unsure of how to move from where they are to where they want to go, many people hold themselves back. But you don't have to know all the answers before you start because of the law of attraction. You'll attract them into your life if you're clear about what you want and the types of people you want to be around. Your thoughts are a sort of energy that vibrate at a rate based on the degree of emotional arousal they are accompanied by. Your thoughts quickly radiate out from you and draw comparable individuals and situations back into your life depending on how anxious or excited you are. Individuals who are happy appear to draw other happy, pleasant people to them. A person with a wealth mindset tends to draw opportunities and ideas for making money. Salespeople that are upbeat and enthusiastic bring in more and better clients. Positive business people draw the capital, clients, suppliers, and financiers they require to establish prosperous enterprises. The law of attraction operates continuously and everywhere. The law of attraction, like the other mental laws, is impartial. You might benefit from it or not. The law of cause and effect, sometimes known as the law of sowing and reaping, is actually a version of this law. Because of this, the philosopher asserts, you reap what you sow. A thought produces an act produces a habit produces a character, and a character produces destiny. Because you have the ability to modify who you are, you can have more, be more, and do more. Your dominant can be modified through practicing strict mental discipline. By focusing just on what you want and avoiding thoughts of what you don't want, you can discipline yourself. People who successfully apply the law of attraction are frequently referred to as lucky. This is merely another way of attempting to explain why those who are clear about their goals and persistently positive about reaching them attract so many nice things and helpful people into their lives. 6. Correspondence Rights. One of the most significant laws is the law of correspondence, which functions as a kind of universal law by explaining many others. As within, so without, it states. It asserts that your external environment reflects your inside environment. According to this law, you may tell what's happening outside of you by observing what's happening within of you. By their fruits, ye shall know them, is how this idea is stated in the Bible. Your life is a series of inner and outward experiences. Your internal world of thought and emotion are in harmony with your external world of manifestation. The relationships you have in your outside world will reflect who you are on the inside, your genuine inner nature. Your inner attitudes of mind will match your external surroundings of health. Your inner world of planning and thought will match your outward world of earnings and financial success. Your attitude and behavior toward them will be reflected in how they react and respond to you. Your driving habits and vehicle maintenance reflect your current mental state at all times. Your home, your automobile, and your place of employment will typically be tidy and effective when you feel good about yourself, confident in yourself, and in charge of your life. Your automobile, your office, your home, even your wardrobes tend to reflect this condition of mess and uncertainty when you're feeling overworked, frustrated, or unhappy. The results of this law of correspondence are all around you. Odds and techniques. I eventually learned that proper practice was necessary, but not sufficient. The German philosopher Goethe said, "One must be something to be able to ej something." You must change yourself. You must become a different person on the inside before you see different results on the outside. And you can't fake it for very long, if at all. Most people try to improve or change aspects of their lives by trying to get other people to change. They don't like what they see reflecting back to them in the mirror of their lives, so they work at polishing the mirror instead of going to the source of reflection. Emerson penned, "I can't hear what you're shouting at me so loudly. One word of what you're saying. Others always perceive you as who you truly are. It's rare to trick someone. The only way you can is to transform the inner things is to change the outer things permanently." The greatest revolution of my life, William James penned, is the finding that people can alter their life external circumstances through altering their mental states on the inside. One of the most crucial inquiries you might have with oneself is, how should I conduct myself if I want the respect of the individuals that share my values and lead the life I aspire to lead? 7. The mental equality law. It is possible to think of the law of mental equivalency, often known as the law of mind, as a restatement of the earlier laws. It basically asserts that thoughts objectify themselves. Your emotions charged, repeatedly repeated, vividly envisioned thoughts create your reality. For better or worse, almost everything you have in your life is a result of your own thinking. Or to put it another way, ideas are objects. They develop their own personality. They have you first, then you have them. Most of the time, your actions are congruent with your thoughts. You ultimately develop into what you think about. And if your way of thinking changes, so does your life. Everything that occurs in your life starts as a thought and develops into that form. This is why successful men and women share a common trait called thoughtfulness. To develop as a good thinker in your own life, you must always put your interests first when employing your brain's faculties. When you start thinking positively and assuredly about the many facets of your life, you have power over what transpires. Bring cause and effect into balance in your life. You sow good causes and get good results. You start to have a more deep belief in your potential and yourself. You anticipate more favorable results. Your outer life of outcomes will soon start to match your inner world of constructive thought because you attract positive people and circumstances. Your thoughts are the starting point of the entire transformation. Change the way you think, and you'll change your life. The only thing you need to do is imagine in your mind what you wish to experience in reality. From there, everything else will flow. Putting these ideas to work, you began the transforming exercise of painting a mental masterpiece by defining your ideal goals and aspirations in each major area of your life. Now, take some time, based on the action of these mental laws, to think about how your habitual modes of thought have created every aspect of your life today. First, your relationships. What is it in your attitudes, beliefs, expectations, and behaviors that is causing your problems with other people? Second, your health. What are your ideas and beliefs about your weight, level of fitness, personal appearance, diet, and rest? How do these beliefs help or hinder you? Third, your career. How do your thoughts affect your position, your progress, the quality of your work, and the amount of satisfaction you get from what you do? Fourth, your level of financial achievement. What would you like to increase or improve? What are your beliefs and expectations concerning your material well-being? How much would you like to earn and why? Fifth, the quality of your inner life, your thoughts, feelings, peace of mind, and happiness. What beliefs, attitudes, and expectations are creating your world today? Which of them do you need to change? You will discover that you have self-limiting ways of thinking in one or more of these areas if you are honest with yourself. This is entirely typical. Self-improvement happens quickly when you start by honestly recognizing your shortcomings. Thank you for viewing. Please subscribe for more videos like this if you like the video.